All right, treasures. So we're here, episode 2
Just waiting.
episode 2 of the Unnamed Podcast, and we do have a name kicking around out there. What was it? Well, what this is what he hit me up with. What Greg hit me up with out of the blue. So
I like Everything's Late and Nobody Dies because I don't know if anything sums up the comics world like that. To me it works. If I did a podcast, I always wanted to call it that. So yeah.
I didn't get it till just now.
Yeah.
It didn't register. Nobody dies until just now.
Everything's late and nobody dies.
That is actually a real huge pet peeve of mine. So we can possibly get into that. So anyway, episode 2. Got a lot of great feedback from those of you that have viewed the first episode of the podcast. This week we're going to touch on variants a little bit. We discussed it a little bit last week, and I put a question out there to some of our internet followers. And what I'm going to do is read off those comments, and then we'll discuss, kind of get our view on that. But I thought that we would kick this off with... we both went to the premiere of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness last night. And it was really funny because we typically disagree on a lot. And
no, we don't. Sorry.
And my first thought, actually, when the film had ended, I turned to my wife and I said, Greg's going to hate this movie because it's the greatest Marvel movie that's ever been made. But what did you think? Non-spoiler, what did you think about the movie?
I thought you were going to disagree because I liked it so much and I thought you'd hate it. I thought, we do disagree on a lot of stuff like that. I thought I definitely in the top 2 or 3 of Marvel. I don't know yet. I'm still there's still things I'm trying to absorb. There's so much happened,
Right.
And I feel like it was a 9-hour movie packed into 2 hours, not in a bad way.
Right.
There's so much.
But not busy. It wasn't busy.
It wasn't busy. It wasn't overloaded. I thought it was just so cool. I need to see it again because there were a good 3 or 4 spots in that movie where something happened and my mind quit working. The one thing I was worried about, because the CGI was really good in the first Doctor Strange movie, I thought.
Right.
I was worried about there being too much CGI and taking me out of it. But I think the way they approached it all, with how fun it was, and that movie started with, okay, this is not real, and that I think put me in the space to be like, oh, okay, that monster's not real, that building's not real, that person's not real, that, whatever. And I was totally fine with it. It didn't take me out at all. As a matter of fact, it kind of brought me in. I think it was a smart way to start it. Another thing that I got to say, I've been slightly burned out on a lot of Marvel stuff. Obviously, I love Marvel. I love the Marvel movies. I love a lot of DC stuff. I just love comics. I know, and it's so cool to see all these things happening like in real life, and you're watching these characters do their thing, and it's people, and they're doing stuff, and it's so cool, right? Halfway through Moon Knight, and I stopped because I just felt like I watched the same episode 3 times. I'm suffering a little bit of burnout, and I was really scared that this was going to continue that.
Well, I think there's a lot of superhero movie fatigue going on. I liked them all. I like Black Widow, but it was not anything to write home about. I've only seen it once. I like all these movies, but this one has actually got me excited for what's coming next. Like, it's bringing me back in. I'm like there again.
I feel the same way, but with different movies and shows.
Yeah.
Because we're us. I thought Black Widow. I didn't think Black Widow was like the greatest Marvel movie, but I thought it was an awesome spy movie, and I really enjoyed it. Last night, I thought Doctor Strange was great, and after a day of thinking about it, now I think it's even better. And then again, I'm gonna have to see it again because so much of the stuff, my mind just literally stopped. It quit. I was like, I'm not comprehending the things that are happening here. The things that I'm seeing cannot be in this movie.
As a fan of those characters, when you get fan service, like it just shuts you down completely, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I can't process that just happened because I wanted that to happen when I was 17 years old.
Right,
You know?
right. It's like I said to you before we started this. It's almost like somebody just said that. It's like Sam Raimi called me and said, "What would you like to be in this?"
Right.
And I'd be like, "Oh, well, let me tell you."
And I think
And then
that
he did.
I think that definitely speaks a lot to Sam Raimi and Kevin Feige and their love of the source material too.
Yeah.
Because you can't make a movie like that if you don't
No, you
understand those characters like a comic book fan does.
Yeah, like you said, this got me excited again. I didn't think it was going to be the Doctor Strange movie that got me excited again.
Yeah.
Like, I knew it was going to be like, oh, this is cool. You know, and they said Sam Raimi's going to do it. I'm like, oh, yeah, awesome. Anyway, very, very enjoyable. Loved it.
Yeah, it was a great film. Got me excited for the MCU again. Mm-hmm. All right, so our thoughts on Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. So I did ask out there, we wanted to discuss variants a little bit. And so what I'm going to do is read some comments from some of our community members, and we can just see where the discussion goes from there. So Nick Backlog Bro.
Hi, Nick.
If you're not following Nick, I'll throw up an overlay with his stuff on there. Follow him. He does a lot of day of stuff from his LCS, and he does some of the best reviews and has the coolest in-home arcade you've ever seen. So he uses that as his backdrop. So make sure you're following Nick.
I'm jealous.
It's really cool.
So cool.
Like, it's just crazy. And he does some great stuff. His comment was, I'll throw something out there. When I first started reading, I thought the cover was there to capture the essence of the issue. It didn't take long to realize that was not the case, and in fact, they often misdirect or feature totally different characters not even included in the story. Part of me wishes the cover actually did reflect the story within those short 20-some pages, but the other part of me likes the crazy variants. Multi-series sets, Gala, Star Wars, Batman, you can piece together, and at the end of the day, they're making money on variants, and that's one way to bring in extra revenue. So I do see a lot of that, and I see a lot of his point, and I don't think comics have ever really paid that much attention to what's inside the book when they're determining what's on the cover.
I think Bronze Age is the last era, I guess, that really did that, because not only would they have what's going on in the book, but they would have, word balloons. They'd be like,
Right.
oh, hey, look, Stegron is here doing his thing and doing stuff, and Spider-Man's amazing and whatever. But I mean, and I just came up with this phrase just now, but it's almost like you can't judge a book by the image on the front piece of paper. I got to work on that, but anyway, and it's I see that frustration, and I get that too. I feel like a bigger problem with that is not only not representing what's on the or in the book. Now, I think a bigger problem maybe is not saying what the book is, because I've got 10 books up there that say Avengers Infinity, and none of them are Avengers Infinity because that's not even a book. And it's like, you got Captain America, Iron Man, you got Captain Carter. You've got, sorry, you got all these books that, they've got these images, and it says, like, Avengers Infinity, Legacy, blah, blah, I don't know, whatever it is,
Right.
And it doesn't even say what book it is. So I own a comic store, and 30% of the time, I don't know what I'm stocking or putting away. Because, I'm like, I don't know what this is. I mean, if you're going to do that, at least just put the title and the issue number on it, and put variant cover by and all those things. I think we need more information on the front of the book, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
They have become fairly minimalist, and that's part of the issue, right? So you've got 3 covers. It varies from company. Now that I think about it, it's really the big 2 that have this issue, where you will have this month's issue of Amazing Spider-Man, and it has 3 covers. Well, you've got your A cover that's got Spider-Man on it, and then you got your B cover that's got, Groot on it, and he's not even in the book.
Right.
And then you've got a 4th cover because it's whatever Pride Month it is this month.
Yeah.
And it's got a character that was featured 4 issues ago
If
not even in the book.
If that character maybe has never been in that book before. Cover.
Right.
Cover. Don't judge a book by its cover. That's it. That's what I was looking for. I'm going to patent that one. Yeah. Okay. Like a character that has something to do with that book. Right. And that, okay, great, man. If you're gonna do a Pride cover on a Batman book, put Batwoman on. Whoever, whatever. Put Commissioner Gordon on. I know there's always been a lot between Batman and Commissioner Gordon. There's a lot of tension. It's like moonlighting.
Yeah.
Will they or won't they? It's great. But yeah, put something, not only representation of characters, but let's when we're doing representation of characters and groups and people and things like that, let's not forget to represent the book that it is. And I think that's maybe something that they ought to be looking at a little closer, because nobody knows what this stuff is.
Another part of that is that back in the Gold and Silver Age, it was very commonplace to put misdirection on the cover. So they would have your Superman book, and they're like, oh, and this Superman, you are dying in this book, and Superman's up there all, and then in the book he doesn't even come close to dying. It's a long history of misdirection on the covers of these books to get you to buy them.
But it was always at least like, even if it was 2 pages, of somebody walking in and Superman's there, and there's a kryptonite pocket watch on his chest or something. He's like, and they're like, oh my God, Superman's dead. What'll we do? And they take the kryptonite off, and he's like, oh no. Oh, he's not dead. Oh, thank God. Oh, man. Or, in the 50s. Thank goodness. Gosh dang it.
It's almost like they just put their cliffhangers right on the cover.
Right, yeah. And that's one of those, I hate this term, but it's a gotcha cover. You put something on there to draw somebody in and buy that book, and it's almost like they don't really do that anymore. And if they do that, it doesn't have anything to do with the book. At least with, like the old DC stuff, they just goofy stuff. Somebody in a white snowsuit, because everybody had their, white suit, a white version of their suit with skis and parkas and I don't know, whatever, or everybody was fighting a monkey or a gorilla. I guess that still happens at DC. It's Gorilla Month every month. But at least it took place in the story. It showed up.
Right.
It wasn't just like, let's put this on there just so people will go, oh, cool, gorilla. Are you taking pictures of my legs?
I am.
Okay,
so Rob Morse from Rob's Fat Stacks.
Hi, Rob. Sorry, I missed my cue.
If you're not following Rob's Fat Stacks, put an overlay on again. Follow him. I just did a great hour-long interview with him about comic pressing and cleaning. Go check it out. He's a great guy. He's doing great things for the community. Got a link, discount code for my pressing service, and for every time it's used, we're donating $10 to Comics Curing Cancer. So follow Rob Morse if you're not already. He's a great guy doing great things. So Rob wrote, he says, I don't mind variants, though I wish they'd limit the maximum numbers of variants per issue. When we have 20 plus variants for a single cover, it gets out of hand. Also, store exclusive variants should count towards a store's ratio variant allocation. This would reduce the number of stores clamoring to get their own exclusives. So that's a really good point. As the industry works now, if a store does a 500 print run of a variant cover, they get all of the 1 in 10s, the 1 in 25s, the 1 in 50s, the 1 in 100s that go along with that allocation.
Yeah.
And what he's saying is your store exclusive should count as those numbers. And I think that would go a long way into kind of curbing a lot of this. It would probably put some of the smaller store exclusive, that the companies that do just exclusive covers, just put them out of the game.
Yeah. I was just thinking about this. This is a little bit of a turn, but it's still a variant thing. Do you remember when Darkness number 11 came out?
I never read Darkness.
Okay, so in the 90s, Darkness number 11 came out. And for whatever reason, Mark Silvestri was like, you know what? This will be funny. Let's do 11 covers. And people were like, oh my God, I've never seen 11 covers. This is insane. Got to get that chromium one. We got to get this. We got to get that. You know, half the people were like, oh my God, that's an insane amount. I mean, it's still doable, but God, that's crazy. That's so many books, you know, so many covers. And then the other half of the people were like, oh my God, that is stupid. Why would you do that much? And they laughed. Right. Yeah, that's never going to be a thing. My God. Now, if you have, I mean, there were more than 11 covers for Spider-Man last week.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, it is. You know, I mean, and it gets to the point where, you know, with like Obi-Wan this week. Now, it would have been funny if Obi-Wan had one cover. Obi-Wan cover. And that's it. That's how they could advertise it. That would be funny, right? But if there's any book that needs one cover, it is that. But I mean, no, there were so many covers. There were like, I think 5 or 6 covers that I got with it, and I actually had the 1 in 10s, and there were so many covers. I was just like, screw it, I'm putting the 1 in 10s up for cover price. You know, the one thing that people don't talk about with all these covers that I see every week. 10 years ago, granted, there weren't as many customers coming in, into the store 10 years ago. We've grown exponentially, which is great. I would actually go pick up my shipment at 8 o'clock, 8:30 at UPS on Wednesday. I would come back, I would go through it, I would fill the holds, I would get everything up, and be open at 11. It would take me 3 hours to go through this. Now it takes me 2 days. You see, when you come in and do your Wednesday morning stream, that I'm almost doing a Wednesday morning stream myself, trying to get that up there. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, we get the stuff, we get 2 days to do this, and it's still very difficult for me to get that done in time to open on Wednesday. And if I've got an X-Men book, which there's always an X-Men #1 something, every week, there's gonna be 5 or 6 covers. If I order 40 copies of cover A, there's probably going to be 10 copies in one box. Then there'll be another 15 or 16 copies in another box. Then there'll be another 10 or 11 copies in another box. So it takes me an hour to find all the copies just of one cover. There's just no quick way to do it anymore. Honestly, from 3 hours to 2 days that's ridiculous. It shouldn't take me 2 days to go through 10 or 11 boxes.
Right.
Everything has variant. If I get a book in and it doesn't have a variant, I'm scared that maybe I forgot to order something. I'm like, oh no, what have I done? And while we're at it, we've talked about the $2.99 price point with Spawn, and the variant problem. While we're at it, geez, man, way to go, Saga. One cover.
Yeah.
$3.
$3.
One of the biggest books on the market right now. Huge book. We saw almost doubled my orders from when they stopped, because I was like, oh yeah, I'll get this one in, and then people won't care anymore because it's been gone for so long, And then they did an overship on it as well. So I had like over 100 copies of 55. I've got like 10 copies left, maybe.
Yeah. Well, and I was just about to say that. I wonder, if that's the next thing, right? If the next thing is, we're only doing one cover, so this is the one you need to get. Mm-hmm. I wonder if that would kind of invigorate things. And
I feel like
it seems to have done that for Saga.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people that are like, you know what, I've got a backlog on it, but it's $2.99 and there's only one cover to buy. Why would I not?
Right. Saga doesn't have a TV show. The ancillary marketing, figures, T-shirts, stuff like that is pretty low.
Right.
Comparatively. Doesn't have a movie. Doesn't have a video game. Doesn't have any of that stuff. It outsells at least 3-1, outsells Eternals, which has 5 different covers every month, has a movie with huge movie stars. It's a Marvel book. It's got a big crossover coming. I mean, that should be, Eternals should be the book that sells 75, 80 copies,
Right.
100 copies a month in every store. You know what I mean? It should be that kind of a book. But it's not. And Saga should be the one, maybe, even though it's a fantastic book, I think, that should be the one that, 30, 40, maybe 50.
Right.
It doesn't have any marketing. It's just Saga. They sent a promotional poster when it came back. That's about it. And I think the simplicity and the quality, and the price point is what really does it for people.
And from YouTube, Illusion30, who left a comment on last week's video. And if you'd like to weigh in on any of these subjects, make sure you're leaving a comment in the comments down below. But Illusions30.
Hi, Illusions.
Hi, Illusions. Hello.
30.
He says, as a primarily non-spec collector, he fancies himself an art buyer. I like variants because I'm putting so much stock into covers. On the collector side of things, variants give me the opportunity to pick up keys that I would normally avoid. Probably the most poignant example of a key I won't touch is ASM 300. He says it's a cool pose, but I don't like the 300s plastered all over. Homages without the numbers are nice. So he's saying that he'll buy homage variants because he likes the poser, he likes that art, and it gives him an opportunity to pick those up. In the last year, we really got, at least I really got burned out trying to chase down every horror movie variant on Stray Dogs.
Yeah.
I've got them all, but it got to be a chore at some point
and
trying to chase all those down.
Don't get me wrong, I love that book. I thought it was a great book.
It was a fantastic book.
And you didn't believe me at first.
I didn't. I wasn't.
You were not on board.
I didn't care for issue 1 because I couldn't make sense of it, but I stuck with it because you talked me into sticking with it. So yeah, and the way it ended up, a lot of
Really
the
good.
things that bugged me made sense by the end.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and they and anything that didn't make sense and was like, why are they doing that? There was that connectivity by the end of the series,
right.
And I was disappointed when I saw there was a sequel, but then I was happy and relieved when I saw it was a prequel.
Yeah.
Variant guy here does not have even close to all the covers. Not even close, man. And if they walk in here, and this is the thing that I've gone to now. If I can order them through Diamond or through Hive or through whatever, then I'll order them. But I'm not going to go chasing them down, and I'm not going to freak out trying to get everything. If they walk in the door, okay, great. They walk through the door and they're in a collection that I buy, fantastic, I'll take it. But yeah, the horror movie variants and homages, which is French for ripoff. That is, there's so much of it, and everything has got one.
Yeah.
Like the Maniac in New York, that makes sense. It's a horror book. Okay, Stray Dogs makes sense. It's a horror book. But I mean, if you've got, Amazing Spider-Man with a Shining homage, why? Like, stop it. Army of Darkness with a Shining homage.
Right.
Okay, it's a horror book.
Well,
that makes sense. I think they need to, and that goes back to what you were saying. They have to have something to do with what the book is.
Right. It really comes down to once you've done something so many times, it's no longer special.
Yeah.
And
And
he
that
mentions
300, yeah.
He mentions ASM 300, and it is a cool pose. It's an iconic pose.
Mm-hmm.
When we saw Spawn 300 in that pose, that was like, whoa, that's cool.
That was great.
That's cool.
And that makes sense because McFarlane is homaging himself.
Right.
Which is a little bit like, hey, that was a really great cover. I'm gonna do it again. I mean, that's a little bit, dude, but also it's clever and it's cute and it's funny
Right.
because it's like, this was mine. I'm gonna do it again.
But I think when we get to the point where every store, and it's funny because I've had this conversation with Jonathan at Hive Comics, hive-comics.com. We were talking about those type of variants, and he's not a fan. And for good reason. What they do is they put high quality art on books, and it's hard to do high quality art when all people want is a rehash of the same old thing.
Yeah.
So there are ways I think that you can do it, and it works well. Their Ice Cream Man books, I think, work really well.
Yeah.
And the reason they work well is people don't know that those are all homages to pre-code horror.
Yeah.
People don't get that with their
Right.
Ice Cream Man stuff. So that's why it works, because it's not everybody's doing it.
Yeah, it's an homage to something that you don't see every day.
Yeah.
And that I bring back Maniac of New York from Aftershock, our friends, our buddies, our pals at Aftershock. They had an homage cover. Two people knew. It's me and another and another person that came in here.
Right.
And they did an homage cover to Prom Night 2.
Huh. That's funny.
Seriously? And people were like, I have no idea what this is. And it's like, yeah, I do, because I love that horrible movie. You know, and it's like a cult classic. Just, you know, it's kind of a so bad it's good. Doesn't have that much. It doesn't have anything to do with Prom Night, but
Right.
you know, and that's the kind of thing. Yeah, like Hive doing the pre-code stuff. Aftershock doing Prom Night 2. You know, these lesser known ones. I love that. I really love that.
I think there needs to be a level of, even though you're rehashing something, there has to be a level of what's new about it. When the Stray Dogs, so after you saw the first, I don't even know where it came from. Issue 1 came out, and then you had like 3 horror movie cover. And that was pretty ingenious, and people were like, "Oh, that's cool. That's cool."
A lot of them were reprints.
A lot.
Second, third, fourth
after
prints.
that,
Yeah,
they did get
yeah.
into the reprints, but some store had that idea, and it just kind of blew up from there, and it was pretty cool. But then after a while, you get to issue 3 and 4, and that's all they were. There was no original art.
Yeah.
It was all movie poster reprints. And that kind of pushed me more towards the A cover, because
Right.
at least that was original. And then when I saw the Exorcist cover, I was like, oh, you know, Justice League did that like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, and that's cool. That Amanda Waller Justice League Exorcist cover, I love that one.
That was great.
But I think if you don't have, if you're rehashing the idea and the art and the concepts, I mean, it's just too much, and people lose interest. It loses all sense of what's unique about it.
And going back to Illusion 30's comment, I sort of agree with the numbers on there. You know, it's kind of gaudy and it's a bit much, you know, but it's also a product of the time. Everything in the 80s and 90s, comic-wise, was gaudy and a bit much. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, if you remember when they started doing computer coloring and computer graphics and computer this and that, the letter pages, you couldn't even read them because there's so much computer this and there's this, and they were like, oh my God, we have Photoshop.
Right.
Let's make this green and put a rainbow here, and let's make this wavy, and you can't even read the friggin' thing. You know, you can't even read what they're doing. You couldn't read the ads for the next issue, right? And I think that's a product of the time, and it's very 80s and 90s. Now, if they do an homage with that, I don't like it as much unless the background's blank and they don't have the numbers.
Right.
Now, when it's blank and they don't have the numbers, and then they've got that wacky McFarlane has no idea what anatomy is cover that is still super cool.
Like that Venom 6
Yeah, that was cool,
with
man.
just the black
Right.
background.
Yeah. That's really cool. And I actually appreciate and like that, even though it is an homage. And especially when somebody does it in their own style and they're not trying to copy McFarlane.
Right.
You know, that being said, I did that homage cover for Bleakhaven with you.
Right. You did ASM 300?
No, I did New Mutants 87.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it.
Yeah. It should be printed and out by June by the time we do our signing.
Right on.
Yeah. So, yeah, Bleakhaven guys. Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah. And also, if you're not following Bleakhaven, follow Bleakhaven. They're actually pushing out a lot more content now, below 100 subs. So go give them a follow. They're doing podcasts set in the Bleakhaven universe. They're not pushing comic books. They're not talking about comic books. It's a comic book world that you can get immersed in. So very cool stuff.
Yeah, it's really neat. I think it's they've got so much stuff that they're doing. It almost when you're talking to them, it almost seems like they're living in that world. They're so into it and just like it's great.
I think Stanley lives in that world on a regular basis.
I think he does.
I think he does.
And he'll actually be here Saturday.
Right on.
Free Comic Day.
All right, yeah. So, final thoughts on variants.
Final thoughts on variants. It's like being in a troubled marriage. I love them, but I also hate them. As a collector, I like them a lot, but I'm getting a little tired of them. As a retailer, they're super frustrating.
I could definitely see that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as a collector, they're super frustrating.
They're getting there. Yeah.
And it's frustrating a lot because, let's say, Dynamite, who I'm not on a first name basis with at the moment because of John Carter of Mars, but every single book has 9 variants.
Yeah.
And I just don't need it.
I
like my Vampirella, I like my Red Sonja, but I don't need 9.
What's your favorite Dynamite book again?
Yeah. Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness is great. Oh my god, that
really
last
great.
one was so good.
It is really good.
That last one was so good because it was the Philadelphia team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
they
fun.
and the art in those have been really good.
Mm-hmm.
Kiss, the art inside Kiss was really good too. Elvira is really fun.
I heard that was great.
A lot of
Betty
fun.
Page has been selling a lot. Barbarella's been selling a lot.
Betty Page, the direction that they went with Betty Page is, it's mind blowing to me. I mean, you see my wife. I've always been a Betty Page fan. Yeah, the direction, the whole Agatha Christie, Betty Page thing is super cool to me.
Yeah.
Super
And it's cool that she showed up in Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
It's really weird. She was one of the Doctor Strange variants. Speaking of variants, yeah, it is. I mean, it is cool though that we're talking about Doctor Strange and variants at the same time. And anyway, no more spoilers.
So Dynamite, there's no way I'm going to buy all the Xenoscope. I love Xenoscope. I love Xenoscope. Everything they put out. I can't tell you how much I love Xenoscope, and I have yet to have a sponsor on this channel. Just saying. So the Xenoscope, but I can't afford every single variant.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And I think Xenoscope does it to showcase these artists because
they do definitely. Yeah,
their artists are spectacular.
Yeah.
They have the best covers, and at first I used to say they have the best good girl covers because
a lot of them are not good.
Yeah, but that's a lot.
The art is, but the girls are not.
That's a lot of what their covers have been. But even the guys, they do have a lot of male characters coming out now and doing really good stuff with those. So it's just tough when you see all these covers and you just can't afford it. Like I can't.
Oh yeah, some of them 100, 200, 300 because they're stupid limited. I do have one Xenoscope cover because all the Xenoscope stuff that I read, I do get all the covers. But I deal directly with them, so
Right.
get a good break, and they always take care of me. They're a great company to work with. And I do have one cover that came in one of the boxes, one of the Zenoscope boxes, and they randomly inserted it, and it is a metal cover that is a one of a kind. There's one.
Nice.
They only did one metal cover, and I ended up with one of them, or with that. You know, they did like a single cover for, I think like there were like 10 of them or something like that, just randomly inserted. And you know, I got a couple boxes because I have people that want all the variants as well. You know, and I opened that box up and I was like, oh man, there's one more in here than there should be. There was supposed to be like 5, you know, comics in there, but there were 6. So me being stupid and honest, you know, talking to Jason at Zenoscope, I'm like, there's an extra cover in here, and he's like, oh, what is it? And I told him, he goes, oh, that's one of the random ones. There's only one of those. You should either hold on to that or you should sell it for a lot of money. And I said, oh, hold on to it. I'm good.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty neat to have.
Yeah. So I think my final thoughts on the whole variant thing is it's unfortunately something that's not going away. I think it should to some extent to make those variants more special.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, as long as we have people out there spending the kind of money that they are on these variants, they're not going anywhere. Yeah. So it is what it is.
I think variants should be like Metallica. They should slow down, but not totally go away.
Yeah.
How's that?
Exactly. All right. Any ideas for the next subject?
Let's talk about indie comics. We talk about Marvel and DC and Image all the time, but let's really. How about like, what's your favorite indie comic? Right. Anybody wants to comment on that? What's your favorite indie comic and why? And what makes an indie comic?
Right.
Yeah. Is it Image? Is it Dark Horse?
That's
what is an indie comic to you?
Because I have recently gone from the big two. Like I've used that term a couple times today, but really in my mind it's the big three. Mm-hmm. It's Marvel, DC, and Image.
Yeah.
It's the big three. So to me, anything outside of that is going to be your indies. And then you got Underground, which is kind of a indie subset, and that would be your Bleak
Fantagraphics,
and
even Fantagraphics, Bleak Haven, maybe even American Mythology, stuff like that. Yeah, even though they have a lot of big licenses, or medium-sized licenses, not big licenses, but medium-sized licenses.
I would say Edgar Rice Burroughs is pretty big.
I would say, like, in the grand scheme of things, I'd say it's a medium one, because even though it's a huge legacy license, it's not something that, you know, your average person is going to walk in and go, the Edgar Rice Burroughs universe. Oh, thank God. True. Thank God that's happening.
I mean, I really enjoy it, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Thank God Land Before Time has got a book. You know, very few people say that, but when they see it and they're fans, they're happy.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, with the indie thing, is Boom indie anymore? Is it an indie company? Because they started out tiny, but now they've got a movie deal with Keanu Reeves. I mean, is that indie still, or is it not? Who knows? I don't know. Whatever. But your thoughts on it? See what you think.
All right. So let us know what you think about indie comics, the indie comic industry. Leave us a comment down below. You can comment on any of my videos and I will get it, or look us up on Instagram, the Rogue Trader Utah, and would be glad to take your thoughts.
And if you want to order some things on my website, blackcat-comics.com, please do. I'll send them right out to you.
And I will put a link to it down in the description, but it's the one with the crazy looking black cat. Mm-hmm. Not the one
right there.
And they're not in California.
No.
I don't think that black cat exists anymore.
Yeah, I think they're closed.
I think they closed.
And also, like your smash the like button to tell us how Bell,
and hit the notification bell so you'll know when the new videos drop. Bing! And we will see you later, traders.